Hello, everyone. I just had a small panic, but everything is good. This is Miss Audrey Connor Gibson from ACG Math Tutoring. And I definitely want to welcome you to my very first, I want to say this correctly, StreamYard live stream. Okay, so this is the first time I'm using StreamYard. So basically, I am like doing all these fun kind of controls while we're about to hit on the content that we are going to discuss today. So before we get ready, let's kind of get all right, as I said before, this is Audrey Connor Gibson from ACG Math Tutoring. And again, I want to welcome you in. So here I go, right here. We're going to show all these things. Ta-da! Welcome to my first StreamYard live stream. So before we get started with our content, there is just some basic rules that I want to touch on. So one of the rules is everyone, and I do mean everyone has their own voice and opinions. And I know that some people are probably going to be saying some things in the comments that we're going to want to share. There's going to be some things that I'm going to like, hey, that's a cool idea. And there's going to be some things I'm going to be like, say what? But hopefully we can keep it clean. But everyone and all opinions are welcome. So the next thing is please comment in the chat. You know, we have those comments. Right now we're going live through Facebook and also my YouTube. Still kind of working on the LinkedIn. At one point I thought I was in, but not in yet, but that's okay. But if you have any kind of questions, any kind of comments, concerns, anything, go ahead and just put that right into the chat. Now, the last part is we're going to have to feel comfortable because based on our timing, based on how many comments, there's going to be times that not all the questions are going to be answered. So there's going to be something that was said and you're like, you know, I thought about that and I really don't know the full answer for that. That's something that I'm going to have to research. And if anything, since I have your info, now I can kind of reach out to you. So as long as we keep those things and parameters, I think we're going to be perfectly fine. You know, we're just going to change it up a little bit, you know, pizzazz it. So here is my logo. And also, I just want to see if I can share my screen so we can kind of get started. So I did a little post. Let me see if I got that. All right, here we are. So I did a post and it just seemed like what I'm trying to do is basically understand making changes. So I used to be in a classroom teacher, and at this point in time of the year, I used to be completely and utterly nuts. But now I'm starting to make changes. So in order for me to kind of keep track of my goals, maybe even share out a couple of the tips that I'm learning throughout this journey of being an online tutor, I decided to kind of have like a little maybe weekly, monthly type thing that shares on the reflections that I have and also some of the tips that I have for like online tutors or people that are thinking about being a tutor. So first of all, let me introduce who is this chick that's sitting before you. So again, my name is Audrey Codner Gibson. I do have a master's in teaching. I was born in Philadelphia, raised Jamaican. Yes, island girl, right? Both parents. And I live in Baltimore with my husband, Matt, and my dog, Connor Jerome Gibson. Yes, my dog has a middle name. He knows it, especially, you know it. Okay, so this is my 19th year. I should have changed that. Teaching. So I taught in Baltimore County, Anne Arundel County, Baltimore City twice, and also the Maryland State Juvenile Justice Detention Center. Now, let me tell you, I've learned a lot from a lot of teachers. But when I worked at the Juvenile Detention Center, as we like to call it, baby bookings, that's when life got real. So let me tell you, everything is a weapon. All right. So my whole thing is I learned a lot from those students. I've learned a lot of just being real. And I was real before, but after being at baby bookings, yeah, I know about realness. Okay. I taught everything in secondary math, so everything from pre-algebra all the way up to pre-calculus. I did some personal finance, some SAT, ACT prep, and also that college and career readiness math courses. In addition to teaching, I did some coaching. So I coached boys and girls basketball, also some volleyball. We have a state championship at Arundel High School, 2010. That was amazing. I do have a degree in psychology. That was my undergrad at St. Joe's University. Yeah, go Hawks. And that was definitely 4 years of blood, sweat, and tears. So I also learned how about my toughness because I came there very timid and I left there not timid. I did receive my master's at UMBC. And I'm inducted not in one, but two Hall of Fames. The best one was my Big Five Hall of Fame back in 2001. Yes. And I used to play professional basketball. And if you don't believe me, go ahead and Google me. Just look up Audrey Codner basketball. All right. But that was then. Okay. That was the joys. That was the hard work. You know, I went to high school, obviously, and I played basketball. Yes. That was the very first time I started playing basketball when I was in 9th grade. And never played before, but it was just that whole drive and that goal and people telling you that, hey, you're tall. You either should be a basketball player or a model. So I liked food, so modeling was definitely out. So it was just kind of like, all right, when did I find that niche? When? Because as you see here, it doesn't say anything about secondary education until my master's. So when did I want to become a teacher? It didn't happen until my first year when I was at Overly High School, when a friend of mine got me a job at Overly. And he's like, well, if you want to coach here, you have to teach here. So I worked a lot with the special ed population. And I was there for 3 years. And a friend of mine was like, yeah, I'm going to go to this other school. You should be a math teacher. You just hone in on math. And all of a sudden, boom, I just got the bug. It was amazing. I loved each and every one of my students. It was just like I was hard on them, of course, but that's what I was doing. But that was what people saw on the outside. This is what people saw on the inside. Well, this is how I was feeling on the inside. I was tired of being micromanaged. Like every time something happened, and this is throughout my 18 years. It's not like it's one particular person. Like throughout those 18 years, I was micromanagement. You know, there was always more prep, more work, paperwork, more meetings. Like some of the meetings, they could have just simply put in an email. Does this sound familiar to any of you guys? Bullying. Like when you literally have assistant principals, other teachers that are coming up to you and say, oh, you didn't do that right. Oh, you didn't do that right. And they're always nitpicking. They're just plucking that nerve each and every time. Then also we have that curriculum driven. You need to be at this day, at this time with these kids. If not, you're going to get written up. Sounds familiar? Feeling limited. There's times I wanted to do something more with the course, or I wanted to do something more with that particular lesson. And either I was limited because of funds, there's only so much money I can spend, or I was limited with ability or space or any other resources. And then I had less time teaching. You would sit here and think 180 days means a lot. That's a lot of teaching. But really, when you break it down, you're spending like maybe 140 days, if not less, of teaching. Because you have testing out the wazoo. There's testing in the beginning of the year. There's testing at the end of the year. And I know a lot of my teachers in Baltimore City, they were doing a whole bunch of testing this past week. And this was the very first week of school. So a whole bunch of testing. There's fire drills. There's special assemblies. It's always something. And every time you turn around, and if somebody wants to take a field trip, all of a sudden you look and you're like, where's all my students? There's like a whole bunch of them on the field trip. And then there's times of feeling owned, like someone owned me. And I know people are like, whoa, is she going to go that route? Yeah, she is, because it's her live feed. Isn't it great? But I didn't like the fact that I had to wear a lanyard that had the school's name on it. Yes, it had to hold my keys, but I felt like I had to have my ID on there. I had to show that I'm being owned by this school. Everything that I've done, all the assignments, all my lesson plans, everything has my name on it, but I don't own it. The school owns it. The work that I put in, it made that other school or made that school better because now, oh wow, look at all these kids are raising their scores. And oh wow, look at all these activities because it's making the school look better, not you. So I felt like I was being owned by the school. And if I decided to up and leave and maybe go to another school, that feeling never left. All I did was change the name from one school to another. So I felt like I just went from one master to another. And then the other thing, the pay. The city paid more than the county because there's so much more that you have to do when you work in the city than you do in the county. So if you're a person or a teacher that's thinking like, hey, I can make more money in the city, but wait, you're going to be doing a lot more work. There's going to be more. Remember that paperwork that's up there? There's going to be more paperwork. There's going to be more research. There's going to be more times you have to submit your lesson plans, not just once a week, sometimes twice a week. So there's a whole lot of stuff. That was that anguish that I was feeling. But what made me make the change from being a teacher to a tutor was I wanted to dismiss all of that. But at the same time, I really wanted to do that teaching. I wanted to reach, and I really do. I don't want to say wanted. I want to reach as many students as I can possible because there's a lot of students out there who has teachers that are telling the students that you will never amount to anything. There's kids that are heartbroken because they don't feel like they're supported. So it almost seems like there was a chosen few that gives these kids that support that rises up. But I know when I stay in one school building, what about the other ones in other buildings? What about the other ones in other districts, other states? Even other worlds. All right, that's a bit much. But there's so many different levels. So I wanted to reach out to them. But you notice there was a difference. I'm still dealing with content. So then I had an aha moment. All this pain, all this anguish, finally, it was 4 years ago, my father passed away of cancer. And actually, it wasn't of cancer because he contracted not one, not two, but three infections, which, lessened his life. And the aha moment for me to make that change, that sparked that I needed to make a change. But what really made that change was when one day we had to have an open house. And I was asked to be in another teacher's classroom. And when parents come to ask about the school, I was telling them not about the school. I was telling them about me. I would tell them what I would do in my classroom. This is how I organize things. This is where the things are. This is the supports that I have. These are the resources that I have. And then at the end, we convened all the parents into the cafeteria. And it just seemed like one parent was just like, yeah, you guys are giving me a whole lot of BS, as he says. And I just looked at him and he was like, but what is the school really like? So I told him, yes, we have our troubles. Yes, we have our stripes. But at the same time, we all work together. I don't know what this person does in their classroom or this person does in their classroom. But all I know is I do this in my classroom, and I know my partner, who's my 12th grade teacher for English, and my other partner for the 12th grade teacher for science, and so forth. We work together. But at the same time, again, I caught myself explaining me, not the school. So then I was like, you know what? I need to go. And I love to teach. So what can I do to do that? So did a whole bunch of research, and then boom, tutoring happened. And I was like, I can still teach kids and get paid, have less paperwork. I still have stress, but it's a different type of stress. Why haven't I seen this before? So does that sound familiar? I think it might. So this is why I decided, after reading several posts and after reading several comments on people's posts throughout a few websites and everything, I kept seeing the same thing. So this is what made me on Thursday afternoon really, to ask this question, this 10-worded question. I never thought I would get over, 212 comments, and still some are pouring in. What is the difference between a teacher and a tutor? So now we're getting to the heart of it. Enough of me. But everyone's like either said, well, there isn't a difference. Oh, the teacher is the leader, the tutor is this, and there's so many different comments. So being the math person I am, I just kind of did some statistics, okay? So I basically looked at that post again around like 5:27, just taking a quick look at my notes. Yep, 5:47 is when I finally just stopped everything and I just counted what was there. So out of 212 comments, 55 were the initial responses to my question. So it's like, what was the difference? What was the initial response? Without me going back, so what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Without another person chiming in and all that. Just very organic responses. 51 of those 55, 51% said that teachers are the leaders and the tutor is that supplementary aid. I loved how one person said that like the teacher is like the head coach and the tutor is like the assistant coach. But one of my things I kept asking was, well, couldn't the assistant coach also be the head coach? Can they have a voice in everything? And she was like, ooh, I didn't think about that. I know. So that's where I did a whole lot of stuff. 22% of you guys said that the difference between a teacher and a tutor is basically the class size. You're going from 35 to 40 kids to like maybe 1 to 3. Okay, maybe if you have small groups of like 7, but still it's something manageable and small enough. Some people said that there isn't a difference. They're basically the same, or certification is the difference between a teacher and a tutor. So a lot of people said that was it. So that was like 9%. And then 5% said pay, the difference in pay. And I'm like, okay, so is that the only thing that's difference between a teacher and a student or a tutor? And the last one is control. And the control could stem with the control of classroom management, the control of being your own boss, or just having that ultimate control of self, okay? So looking at those results, 51% of you guys said that the teacher is the lead and tutors is that supplementary aid. But when I look at the word difference, okay, so now here's my take on some English. That's going to be very interesting for a math teacher. Here we go. So based on Webster Dictionary, yeah, remember Webster's? You actually had a dictionary and you flipped. Okay, here we go. So a point or a way in which people or things are not the same. So if I look at a teacher, so the definition of a teacher, again, Webster, is a person or thing that teaches something, a person whose job is to teach students about certain subjects. So now I have to take a look at what was a tutor. So they said a tutor is a person charged with the instruction and guidance of another. So such as like a private teacher, a teacher, say, British University, who gives individual instruction to undergrads. So just even we do individual instruction ourselves, either one-to-one or small groups. But isn't there basically the same? There's a lot of similarities. But what is the difference? So this is what I was trying to get a lot of people to get it. And some people were right on top of it. And some people were like, lady, you're about to make me crazy. And I know I made so many people upset. But what I see the difference is your mindset. And I know a lot of people are like, oh my gosh. I'm like, no, seriously. Because some of the comments that we make on our posts, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, we all say the same things. When we're a teacher, we are restricted. We have to follow a certain curriculum. When you're a tutor, some people think that you can tutor whatever you want. And yes, there are certain platforms that will allow you to tutor whatever you want, and you'll be able to get a certain pay for exchange for a certain percent so you can be on those platforms. And that does happen, and it works for some people. But however, some people go in it. If you were a teacher before and now you're becoming a tutor, some people go in this with the aggression from being a teacher, and they're carrying that over to being a tutor. So if you are religious, think about the chapter of Ruth, okay? Chapter 3, verse 3. You need to wash your face, you need to anoint your face, and you need to change your clothes. When you're a teacher, you can bring that content over, but keep that negativity at the door. So when you're a teacher, even some of the work that you used to do as a teacher, you need to keep that back there, because now you're a tutor. Now you're filling in the gaps. You're helping teachers, you're helping parents, you're helping administrations, you're helping other people to support that child so he or she can go to the next level with confidence and be able to make connections. But in order for us to do that, we need to change that mindset in two ways. One, figure out what you're going to be teaching and how you're going to teach it. But the second one is the business part. So we have to keep up with our finances, how we're going to make sure that the government gets their taxes. Yes, because they will come after you. Like, how are you going to organize your business? How are you going to, you have to do your own schedule now. You don't have to put a post in and say, should I take an hour for lunch? You got that freedom now as a tutor. You can take an hour off for lunch. You can take a half an hour. You can sit in the closet. You can do whatever you want. But it's hard because when we have that summer mindset, like the first week, we always feel like we should be doing something. And you're like, oh my gosh, I should be doing something right now, right? But now, when the school year starts, that mindset's going to be a little bit different. So when we're looking at those mindsets, how can we build our mindset? How can we start feeling that confidence within us? So I read this article, and I grabbed a couple ideas from the entrepreneur.com article about building your mindset. And they did mention that one, you want to put yourself in a challenging new situation. Boom, done. You're a tutor. You looked into being a tutor. You did your research. You maybe even probably used a family member's kid and say, hey, let me tutor you and see if this is something that I wanted to do. Because hopefully a lot of you guys didn't say, I don't want to be a teacher, I want to be a tutor now, go. Because it's a different mindset. It's a different playing field. Like now you have to be in control of a lot of things, all right? So after that, be open to finding a mentor. And I'm going to show you one of the best resources if you're even thinking about being an online tutor, or if you're already an online tutor, if you want to improve on, I got a source for you. Then also, think of failure as a learning opportunity. When we're teachers, we're programmed that failure is not an option. If you mess up, and just like the kids, I always tell my students, you're going to mess up, which is fine. Because guess what? This is day one. Have you seen this before? And they're like, no. This is day one of doing it. Look how far you've gotten. You see how we can build kids up? And also, we can do the same for ourselves. All of a sudden, I invested in this platform, and then I realized that, hey, I'm not using this platform anymore. But guess what? I already invested like $500 for it. Let me think of something else. Will be another opportunity for me to use a platform to better my students' skills, which is a true story. Surround yourself with a top talent. With the resource that I'm going to show you later on, there is a lot of people that are experts in what they do. Go ahead, tap in. You can go to LinkedIn, sign in, associate with some people. There might be some people that are very successful entrepreneurs and you need to check in. You can go look at, Shark Tank, and you can look at those other things and other profits and surround yourself. read books, look at videos, really try to go on to those people that you can have someone to look up to. Find the time to disconnect from stressors. Guys, the micromanaging, not being able to teach, not being able to organize my schedule. Every time there's a sub, I have to write all this paperwork, and all of a sudden the sub decides not to do all this stuff after you just sat at home spending hours putting this stuff together. That caused me distress. I gained 30 pounds. It's ridiculous. I'm still working on losing it some more. But those were the stressors that I didn't need. I was harming myself by being in the classroom. And then I realized that, nope, I can't do it. I need to do something else. Developing a simple morning routine. For me, I get up in the morning and I walk 12,000 steps. I go to the track because I know the rest of the day I'm going to be sitting in front of a computer, so I won't be able to do that. So finding those morning routines and when should I eat and when should I stop. So that helps me. Set those time-bounded and achievable personal goals. My goals is to help as many kids as I can. Like in a year, I would love to help like 500 students. I would love that. That will be my ultimate goal. For me to be able to make more money than I do in the classroom, that would be nice. That would be a goal. Reconnecting with God, that was a major goal. It's not like I went completely nuts and just ignored him, but I'm like reconnecting with him. And then also like just finding time for self. So those are like some personal goals that I wanted to do. And then listen to your instinct. That gut feeling that you're like, you know what, that feels good. Go with it. And then lastly, ask questions. Because if you have something like, well, how did you get started? What did you do to get started? How are you getting clients? Or where do you go? Ask those questions because those are the things that's going to move you forward. Okay? So now I got to ask myself, this is the last part, where do we fit in as tutors? Now that we know that there's a difference, we have to get our mindset together, but where do we fit in? Like looking at this graphic, how can I redesign this? So we got parents, we got students, we got teachers, and this is what your clients know. Your clients know this circle of friends. How do you jump in? It's like double dutch, like how am I going to jump in, right? So I can keep the ropes turning. So how do I keep going? Do I aim for my parents? Do I aim for the student? Do I aim for the teacher? But am I that person that's in the middle, that connection? Am I that connecting piece for all three? So that might be something that you might want to ask yes or no in the chat. And then the next question is, how are we going to present our role as a tutor to parents? Because this is what parents know. Years ago, you talk about getting a tutor, that was for rich people. Like real talk. Like that was for like the richy rich of everything. And I don't know, because there's some parents that just don't know how to find a tutor, how to connect with a tutor, how to just actually get things done. So it's just like, how am I going to get all these lovely things done? Let me turn this off for a second. Now, one of the things that I do mention, so let me see if I can get it, is this lady right here. If you ever need, let me see if I can get my thing out the way. Boom. Okay. If you're a tutor and you're thinking about taking that next step, this is the place to go. So on Facebook, I know I'm like right here over here, like, hey. So if you're thinking about being an online tutor, and I know there's so many people out there that will sit there and say, yeah, I can make you $500,000 in like 2 weeks. No problem, boo-boo, we got this. Or you can get with someone that's going to be real, that's going to tell you it's going to take you work. You know, you want to be an expert in what you do to build up your confidence, to show you the ways how to. You can go to this Facebook group, the Ultimate Support Group for Online Tutors. So you go on Facebook, you look them up, and trust me, if you have any questions, it's not just the lead, which is Joanne Kaminsky, Joanne, which you see her right here. So Joanne has like other administrators as well, like Beth will answer, Terry will answer, Kathy will answer. There's so many more of them. But if you want someone that's going to be real, that's going to be truthful, is not just there just to take your money. Like when she says, I'm going to walk you through it step by step, she means it. No holds barred. She means it. So if you're thinking about taking that step, go ahead and take that step. So remember, it's called the Ultimate Support Group for Online Tutors. All right. So if you ever see this banner, this is the banner, this is the group. Go ahead and sign in. Once you become a member, ask all the questions. Just ask. Okay? No holds barred with it whatsoever. Because of everything else, I think this went pretty decent. So besides pumping up Joanne and having all that, the other person that I want to say thank you is that StreamYard.com. So StreamYard.com, I mean, this is pretty cool. I mean, I didn't have to download anything. It didn't take me a whole bunch of stuff. Like, yes, I think I did a little bit too much talking with the whole PowerPoint thing, but this was pretty cool. So before I end up, let me take a look at comments. I got a couple of comments in here. Yes. One I got with Miss April. So good to see your face. It's so good to see you. She is one of my former students and basketball players. 2010, she was there for that. So unfortunately she had to go back to work, but I appreciate you, April, for stopping by. And oh, my mother-in-law, she's so awesome. She's like, I love this, so true. And I've been both. You are great, because she used to own her own Montessori schools, and I still use her stuff when I did in-person tutoring. So when I had in-person, I actually did use some of the Montessori stuff. Of course, Matt didn't know because I snuck it out the house. But for the most part, it was just like, you want to do that convincing. We have to have that mindset. So if you really like this whole StreamYard and you're just like, oh my gosh, Audrey, you're making it look so easy, hey, this is great. But let me see if I can flash back. So this was really fun. And I really think that, you know, the changes that I'm making is going to really make those adjustments. That's what I want to do. I love to teach and I love to tutor. So I'm going to show you a bit of my information. And for those that came and stopped by and gave me your thumbs up and happy smiles and hearts, I greatly appreciate it. So this is going to be one of many. Yes, this is not going to be the only one, people. So if you do need a tutor, especially for secondary math, please go ahead and just get paper and pencil ready, because I'm going to show you my information, and then we're just going to take it from there. So hopefully you guys will enjoy the rest of your Saturday. This was fun and wild at the same time, and I will talk with you soon. Take care, guys.